Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 262 based on novel. So let's start. When the sky touched the 10,000 fire stars, the dazzling golden light bloomed like the brilliance of the sun. The beams of light were like sharp spikes. From the place where the two touched, the terrible wave of energy burst out, and the whole square trembled at the moment. At this moment, the faces of all the people present were shocked, and even many disciples of Burning Valley turned pale because of the terrible momentum. Even some Yuan Wang strong men present showed surprised expressions at the scene. With the cultivation of returning to the source environment, they can release such powerful fighting skills. It has to be said that these two people in front of them can be called the best among all the young people today. Even they are called peak. I'm afraid it's not too much. At the moment, the two people standing on the stage seem to be the top strength of the younger generation, and this war is also the top war of the younger generation. The proud son of heaven and the dragon and phoenix among people, although they are still young, they also show a real strong posture on this stage at the moment. In the future, these two will certainly stand among the peaks of the whole continent. As soon as I read this, in addition to the admiration in my heart, many strong people present also had a good impression on these two people. As a person with outstanding talent, it is natural to make the best friends with him. One more friend is always better than one more enemy. Even many Yuan Wang strong men who were originally prepared to wait and see have a slight idea of getting close to the Burning Valley. As for Xiao Yan, the elder of Fenyang Valley personally invited him to see it. In addition, Qin Yang is a proud son of heaven. His future prosperity can be seen at a glance. If he can join them at this time, the family forces behind these people will rise in the future. As for Xiao Yang, the elder of Fenyang Valley invited him to see it in person in the past day. Fenyang Valley also has a soliciting attitude towards him. If the Burning Valley really has the help of these two young leaders, it is just around the corner to dominate the extreme south in one fell swoop. Now, this is not only a time to test all the disciples, but also a time to let outsiders witness the strength of the Burning Valley and let them stand in line. I'm afraid whether they join the Burning Valley or not will affect the future of their respective forces. Although the move of Burning Valley seems obscure, it can't help but make people feel cold when they think about it. The situation is not divided, but the Burning Valley has begun to win over all forces, which seems to mean to dominate the extreme south. But is the Burning Valley really afraid that the other two will officially join hands before he succeeds in winning over these forces? You know, once Chengui's sect and one Scorpion's sect join hands, I'm afraid even the Burning Valley will not be an opponent. Of course, the Burning Valley will win. Its Valley Master is a strong person in the great territory of Yuanzhong, and he is also the only strong person in the great territory of Yuanzhong in the whole southern region. I believe as long as he is there, even the two sects join hands, it may not be the opponent of Burning Valley. With this idea in mind, all the strong people here are more and more fond of the Burning Valley. Their hearts are getting stronger and stronger. Even many people have decided to formally throw themselves into the Burning Valley after the matter is over. Boom. At the same time, Xiao Yang and Qin Yang on the stage are also fighting fiercely in full swing. Condensing fire means burning sky seal, sky fire colossus, giant elephant. Fierce cheers resounded on the stage, fists and palms intersected, and colossus coincided. The whole square was destroyed in this fierce collision. Finally, the elder of Burning Valley was not good, and hurriedly started the array under the square to cover the whole square with golden light. Dang dang. When the two collided, energy after waves broke out continuously, and they collided heavily on the golden energy wall. With a burst of energy ripples, the whole array was shaking constantly, and the golden light on it was flickering, which made people feel uneasy. The elder of Burning Valley who saw this scene was even more painful. Look, when the war is over, this array will be destroyed. However, even so, the battle in the field still has no intention of ending. Pure fighting skills can no longer satisfy the fighting desire of the two people on the field at this time. When Qin Yang cemented a long flame gun with the power of the road, Xiao Yang also grasped it with a big hand, and the dark black ruler suddenly appeared from his hand. As soon as his arm shook, the light blue flame spread upward, turning the whole ruler into a fire blue color. With great momentum, the terrible high temperature is particularly amazing. Is this strange fire? When Qin Yang saw the light blue flame attached to Xiao Yanxuan's heavy ruler, a pair of eyes full of red and yellow flame could not help but coagulate slightly, and his words revealed a bit of surprise. He didn't expect that Xiao Yang in front of him still had a different fire. In this way, his advantage of the road of fire has disappeared. That's good. Let me meet for a while. It's the most hegemonic power in the world. Qin Yangue is worthy of being a rebellious man. He is also the pride of the young generation. Even if he is in charge of different fire, he is not afraid. He looks fanatical. It seems that he can't wait to meet Xiao Yang's different fire. Drink. With a fierce drink, the soles of Qin Yang's feet stepped heavily on the broken stone platform again, and his body shot forward in the blink of an eye. In an instant, he came to Xiao Yang holding a huge ruler of fire. As soon as the gun body shook in his hand, he immediately stabbed Xiao Yang in front of him with an extremely fierce attitude. Seeing the sharp spear front coming towards Xiao Yang's face also showed a look of fanaticism. With a laugh and a wave of his divine arm, the dark heavy ruler in his hand immediately waved out. The seemingly bulky giant ruler looked like an arrow in Xiao Yang's hand. The heavy ruler body collided with the sharp spear front in the blink of an eye, and brilliant sparks burst out in an instant. The crisp crash sound is heard all the more. The figure turned over, the long gun waved, the huge ruler swept, the gun edge turned sharply, the ruler body swayed, and the attack and defense were fierce. Both sides did not lose the slightest. With extremely overbearing moves, even Xiao Yang's strange fire could not suppress the guy in front for a moment. Ding ding. The crisp collision sounded one after another. The flame spear was as tricky as a snake in Qin Yang's hand. It turned left and right. Unexpectedly, it skillfully avoided Xiao Yang's huge ruler. If Xiao Yang hadn't stopped in time, I'm afraid he would have left a huge blood hole on his arm. Qin Yang's successful attack was to continue to attack and bite, as if he didn't want to give Xiao Yang any chance. The latter was not afraid at all. The broad ruler turned over a few times, which was to block Qin Yang's attack. Then the soles of his feet gently crossed the air in the void, and his body turned over. The giant ruler in his hand also raised his head in the blink of an eye, followed by a heavy downward blow. When the heavy ruler fell, the breaking wind sounded immediately, and Qin Yang didn't dare to be careless. The long gun in his hand quickly swung on the bell. The two collided, and the terrible distance suddenly poured out from the huge ruler. The long gun in Qin Yang's hand bent down instantly, and his eyes showed a look of surprise, and the bent gun rod pressed on his chest. The power brought by it made Qin Yang's qi and blood soar, and he couldn't help but utter a stuffy hum in his throat. When the two men separated again, their faces looked a little pale, and they looked a little embarrassed with each other. However, it was just such a battle that made the two people feel more hearty. Who? They raised their eyes and looked at each other. The corners of their mouths were full of wild smiles. They gasped and turned the remaining source gas in their bodies. They had a fierce battle. At the moment, it was time for them to prepare for the final fight. Ha ha. Xiao Yang, no matter who wins or loses this battle today, I will keep it in mind. When you and I make further progress in the future, I will find you to fight. Okay, waiting for you. They laughed and breathed deeply. Qin Yang straightened up again. His body was shocked and his long gun was waved again. At the same time, between heaven and earth, a hot energy also gathered. Together with the source gas in Qin Yang's body, all his brain was poured into the long gun in his hand. Xiao Yang, next, let's fight to determine the outcome. Also let you have a look, my skill of the road, the anger of burning the sky. When the rebellious laughter fell, Qin Yang immediately grasped the long gun with both hands, and put a pinch of his hands on the long gun. Between the horizontal swing of the long gun, the raging fire suddenly burst into the sky from both ends of the long gun. The huge fire shrouded the whole square in the twinkling of an eye. The terrible high temperature spread for a long time, and the air became particularly dry at this moment. At the same time, the atmosphere between heaven and earth also suddenly tight. Avenue of fire, gather. A loud drink sounded like thunder in the sky and earth. Almost at the same time, Qin Yang's eyes burst out two flame beams. Some energy between heaven and earth suddenly rioted. In the void, a flame with extreme high temperature was transformed, causing the space to twist and expand, and finally burst. The flame soared and filled a large area of the sky. At the moment, Qin Yang was waving a long gun with both hands. After shaking in the void, the flame between heaven and earth flowed and gathered together with the dance of the long gun. Finally, it condensed into an extremely huge flame long gun over Qin Yang's head. The blazing flame soared in the wind, and the hot temperature was unbearable, especially the amazing breath from the long gun, which was even more frightening. At this moment, even those Yuan Wang Qiong in the peripheral stands couldn't help standing up, full of shocked eyes locked on the scene in front of them, and the horror in their hearts was unspeakable. They can't even imagine that Qin Yang, who was in the later stage of returning to the source territory, could show this fighting skill. This is the skill of the avenue. Qin Yang, he showed his great skill? How is this possible? He just returns to the source. At this moment, everyone on the court who knows the skill of this avenue is shocked. Even those disciples of Burning Valley who don't understand the reason are also frightened. This boy, he's going to destroy the square. Come on, strengthen the defense array, but don't let this boy hurt people. On the high platform, Xuanhua's old face couldn't help showing a dignified color at this time, and his inner mood became nervous with the emergence of Qin Yang's attack. The deacon of Burning Valley at the bottom didn't dare to neglect his speech. He quickly gathered several other deacons to work together to strengthen the array in the field. Under the stand, Luo Jin and his party had already got up in a nervous mood and looked at Xiao Yang, who was facing Qin Yang in the field, with a frown. Most of them naturally understood the so-called avenue skills, even the little medical fairy who didn't know this point. After noticing the terrible energy breath condensed above Qin Yang's head in the field, my heart was also very nervous. A pair of beautiful eyes full of worry stared at Xiao Yang in the array, and my two jade hands couldn't help clutching together. Of course, compared with the people under the stage, Xiao Yang is naturally the most nervous and dignified person at the moment. He didn't expect that in addition to mastering the Road of Fire, Qin Yang also mastered the technology of the road, which can be said to be the biggest omission. If Xiao Yang can still smile when facing the spirit-level fighting skill, then for this so-called Great Road skill, today's Xiao Yang is even hard to estimate its dangerous value. The dangerous degree of this thing is no less than the Italian-level fighting skills. Even if it can really erupt the Great Road skills, its power will surpass all the fighting skills. There is no fighting skill power that can be comparable to the Great Road skills, because in this world, there is no energy that can compete with the Great Road skills except for foreign things. The technique of the Great Road is a terrorist fighting technique that is performed exclusively by the power of the Great Road. Without the power of the Great Road, it cannot be performed. Accordingly, the power of the technique of the Great Road is undoubtedly powerful. Nowadays, Xiao Yang has no ability or means to master the skills of the Great Road, because this fighting skill is often a means that can be formed by some strong people after they have a deeper understanding or stronger control of the power of the Great Road. Generally speaking, if they want to cultivate the skills of the Great Road, their accomplishments have generally reached the realm of the Source King, and even some people want to reach the realm of the Source Emperor. Only then can we understand the skill of our own avenue. In fact, the formation of the technology of the road is a process of understanding and growing the power of the road itself. In a sense, the formation of the technology of the road has its own inevitability. In this continent, anyone who understands the power of the road is bound to cultivate the technology of the road. The comprehension and cultivation of the power of the avenue naturally has its own clear realm, just like the source of fighting chi. From low to high, the realm of the power of the avenue is divided into the tent of the avenue, the gauze clothes of the avenue, the condensed form of the avenue, the skill of the avenue, the heaven and earth of the Tao, and the floating slaughter of the avenue. The tabernacle of the avenue is naturally the same as the void tabernacle used by Xiao Yang. As for Dao She, it is another means to use the power of Dao Dao, which is condensed on the body surface to form a simple and effective protection. Then there is the condensed form of the avenue, which condenses the power of the avenue into any shape or format weapon, so as to use it as you like. The skill of the road is another sublimation of the ability to control the power of the road. The power of the fighting skill it understands will be better than any fighting skill, and that power is more pure. Therefore, the skill of the road is also known as the most terrible fighting skill in the world. Of course, the first thing to focus on is the power. Naturally, the performer's own cultivation is not strong enough. Even the most powerful fighting skills can't be used at all. Compared with the previous several realms, the Taoism of heaven and earth is even more terrible. In this realm, it is not difficult to imagine the power of the powerful power of the road to transform one side of heaven and earth and take one piece of heaven and earth as their own. Generally, people who can understand and develop the power of the road to this realm, they have also become the people standing at the top of the pyramid on the whole continent. But as for the important realm of Da Dao Fu 2, although there are many legends about it, no one knows how it is so far, because no one has really reached that realm since ancient times. The dazzling light burst out from the flame spear, and the terrible smell shocked all the people present. Up to now, under the light, the exact situation on the field has been extremely difficult to identify, and only a few people can barely see the situation in the field. Xiao Yang was standing in the void. The Xian heavy ruler in his hand had been taken into the ring, but the dignified look on his face had not been reduced. This battle was even more tragic than he thought. If you want to defeat Qin Yang, it is difficult to take effect with ordinary fighting skills. In this way, the only way at present is poof. In Qin Yang's surprised eyes, Xiao Yang slowly stretched out his hands and read a move. One white and one blue flame appeared in the palm of his hand. Then, in Qin Yang's unbelievable eyes, his hands slowly drew close until the last snap rubbed the two flames in the palm together. This boy. What is he going to do? Off the court, Li Chengxiu, who clearly saw the action in Xiao Yang's hand, suddenly jerked his old face and stared at what was happening in the field. He couldn't believe that Xiao Yang was carrying two kinds of different fires, and just now, he photographed the different fires of his hands together with an extremely exaggerated attitude. Isn't this behavior the same as looking for death? If he hadn't seen Xiao Yang's calm face, he would have been unable to help himself. This boy, what does he want to do? A pair of old eyes stared at Xiao Yang in the field for a moment. Li Chengxiu was full of shock. His eyes stared at the gorgeous flame that constantly burst out sparks between Xiao Yang's hands. Although the flame seemed gorgeous, anyone knew that once the two different fires exploded, the power was probably the source Wang Qiong who was present. Elder, what is Xiao Yang going to do? Because the changes in the field at this time are amazing, under the dazzling light, even the other elders of Burning Valley can't see the real scene clearly. They can only perceive that there is an extremely huge energy gathering rapidly between Xiao Yang's hands at this time. Although the breath has not been completely condensed, it has already made them feel uneasy in their hearts. At the same time, the rest of the audience, Wang Qiong, also changed their faces at the moment. The strong breath in the field, even they felt a kind of oppression. All present are the strong people who have been famous in the extreme south for a long time. Naturally, they will not be stupid enough to regard this situation as nothing, nor will they trust each other because they are younger generation. Although the cultivation of Xiao Yang and others in the field is still weak at the moment, they all know very well that these two people can never be treated with common sense. If anyone dares to underestimate them, I'm afraid that the strong of Yuan Wang will also eat in their hands. When time passed, in the hands of Xiao Yang under the light of fire, a beautiful light blue fire lotus also slowly solidified. At the same time, an extremely terrible pressure finally came to the square. What a terrible smell! Is this really what a boy returning to the source can do? At the moment when the invisible momentum swept over the square, all the strong men present changed their faces in an instant, and everyone was surprised. Li Chengxiu's old face became especially dignified. It would be better if they were alone, but now there are many disciples of his Burning Valley, so they can't deal with it easily. The elder of Burning Valley obeys orders. Reinforce the array immediately and never let the war affect the disciples outside the field. All the elders of the Burning Valley nodded in a hurry. Even the deacons came forward one after another and solemnly injected the source gas in their bodies into the array covering the whole square. For a short time, The golden light and thick breath also made outsiders relax a little. With the protection of the array, people outside have a bottom in their hearts. Almost at the same time, Xiao Yan and Qin Yang in the field also send out the huge fire gun on their head and the fire lotus in their hands. The shocking momentum broke out in an instant. The fierce and domineering breath of the fire gun easily tore up the void. A circle of fire waves swept away continuously, and the broken floor melted at the speed visible to the naked eye under this terrible high temperature. Such a blow, I'm afraid, is the strong of the ordinary Source King, who can't resist it easily. In contrast, it is the oncoming fire lotus that looks like autumn water. The light blue fire lotus rotates slowly in the void, looking quite beautiful, just like a harmless look for human and livestock. Wherever it passes, the void collapses quietly in silence. Under the fire lotus, there is nothing. Then, in the nervous and eager mood of the strong outside, the fire lotus in the field finally collided with the fire gun. Buzz! The heaven and earth trembled, followed by the buzzing, followed by an invisible wave of energy. The void and the earth collapsed in the blink of an eye. The golden defense array shook violently for a long time. Among them, the strong fire light could not be stopped by this array. The deacons of Burning Valley who continuously transported energy for the array suddenly turned white, and when the source gas in their body collapsed, they were shocked. Big mouth blood can't help gushing from the mouth. Without the help of these deacons, the strength of the defense array suddenly became weak. Even if all the elders of the Burning Valley fought together, the shaking of the array became more and more intense, and the sweeping power made people feel a burst of panic. Every collision between the energy and the array made the hearts and minds of the people present tremble. Until a certain moment, when the energy in the array completely exploded, the terrible energy after wave collided with the array again. Click! With the clear sound of rupture, the pupils of all the people present suddenly shrunk, and the expression on Li Chengshu's old face changed suddenly. Before he could do it, a terrible wave of flame broke through the defense array at the next moment, sweeping in all directions over the square. The raging flame almost wanted to devour everything. The terrible high temperature quickly melted the nearby stone platform. The Source Kings and powerful people under the platform quickly mobilized the source gas in their bodies. While resisting this terrible force, their body quickly retreated back. No! Li Chengshu's face changed dramatically, and he couldn't help shouting. However, it was too late. The terrible flame wave swept over the square crazily, and no one could stop the energy. All the disciples of Burning Valley turned pale. They looked at the approaching destruction flame in horror, and their bodies were no longer under control, can only stay in place and wait to die. Alas, two boys, you are going to destroy my Burning Valley. However, at this time, a sigh suddenly sounded between heaven and earth. Almost at the same time, everyone present was shocked to see that the crazy sweeping flame wave suddenly stagnated in mid-air while this sentence sounded. Then, an invisible force between heaven and earth suddenly fell. The invisible energy turned into two big hands, as if it had the power against the sky. Unexpectedly, it condensed the scattered flame energy together again in an extremely strange way. The terrible energy retracted rapidly, and the destructive breath shrouded over the heads of people in heaven and earth dissipated in an instant, and those energies also returned to the bodies of Xiao Yang and Qin Yang in the field in an instant. The appearance of this scene stunned all the people present, and showed an unbelievable look on their faces. But when they were stunned, the elders of Burning Valley seemed to suddenly think of something. All the people immediately burst out a surprise light in their eyes, and their confusion disappeared in an instant. It was a burst of ecstasy for the rest of life. Valley Master! It's the Valley Master who appears. The Valley Master made a move. Valley Master, you're back at last. The elders of the Burning Valley, including Li Chengshu, were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. Who would have thought that the Valley Master of the Burning Valley would appear at this critical moment and save all the Burning Valley disciples present by means of going against the sky? As the energy storm on the field dissipated, everyone's eyes also looked at Xiao Yang and Qin Yang in the field. Their pale face, ragged clothes, and unkempt appearance. If these people hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they might think they were two beggars. Then, the people at the scene shifted their eyes again and looked around for the Valley Master of Burning who had just stopped all this terror. One shot solved a shocking energy storm. The cultivation is really terrible. At this moment, everyone present is eager to see the strongest person in the southern region. As everyone looked around in the audience, the void in front of Li Chengxiu suddenly twisted. Then, an old man with red robes, white hair and beard, and an old, full and ruddy face appeared slowly. "Valley Master, you are back." Seeing this, Li Chengxiu quickly arched his hands to the person in front of him, and his face was also respectful. Later, other elders of Burning Valley came one after another and stood behind Li Chengxiu and saluted respectfully. "Yes." With a reply, the old man gently waved his hand. Then all the elders withdrew, leaving Li Chengxiu alone. "Hehe, elder, it seems that many new stars have appeared in the Burning Valley these days when I am not here." The old man smiled with satisfaction and didn't pay any attention to the previous events. After hastily apologizing, Li Chengxiu told all the things that had happened in recent days to the people in front of him. When the latter heard the speech, he would show a surprised expression from time to time in addition to smiling. Even if the time was short, it was enough to show his inner fluctuation. "Well, strange fire. Indeed, I feel it too, but why is this boy named Xiao Yang in his body?" He nodded slightly. The Valley Master slowly looked at Xiao Yang, but to his surprise, there seemed to be a strange and familiar guy in Xiao Yang's body, but the feeling was too vague for him to distinguish. There is still a soul body in him. He has the cultivation of the Source King and is also a 7th Order array mage. Hearing the Valley leader's words, Li Chengxiu quickly told all he knew. However, the latter's thoughts didn't seem to be here. After waiting for a long time, he answered. At the same time, deep inside Xiao Yang's body, Xiao Xian's soul was shaking with shock, and the mood in his heart was even more difficult to restrain. He couldn't think that his former friends would meet here. "Ancestor, what's the matter?" Xiao Yang was surprised when he felt the fluctuation of breath in his body. Xiao Xian was always calm. Nothing could make his mood fluctuate. But at the moment, the appearance of the leader of the burning valley shocked him so much. Is it because of the cultivation of the other party? Xiao Yang didn't dare to guess this. How could it be him? After a long time, Xiao Xian's trembling voice came into Xiao Yang's mind again. The trace of excitement and disbelief in his voice has fully expressed his mood at the moment. At the moment Xiao Yang heard this, his eyes looked suddenly, and his eyes instantly locked on the Valley Master of burning valley in the sky. Then, he said suspiciously word by word. "Ancestor, you said he was. Burn the burning Valley Master, burn the sky. Burn the sky, father." Almost at the same time that Xiao Xian uttered these words, Luo Jin also came to Xiao Yang's side. The words he uttered were the same as Xiao Xian. "Burn. Burn our ancestors." As soon as he said this, the pupil in Xiao Yang's eyes shrank in an instant, and his eyes staring at the old man in the sky were full of unbelievable looks. It's hard to imagine that he would actually see the character who seems to be in a distant legend in such a place. In this way, the doubts and guesses in his heart for a long time may be true. The founder of Burning Heaven, the founder of Burning Valley in the Fighting Spirit Mainland, was also one of the top strong men in the Fighting Spirit Mainland at that time. He was especially friendly with the Xiao nationality, one of the 8 ancient nationalities. At that time, he and the head of the Xiao nationality both broke through the Fighting Emperor and finally disappeared on the Fighting Spirit Mainland together, but unexpectedly, he would see it here. Xiao Xian, the grandson of the original Xiao Patriarch, was even held in his arms by the old ancestor when he was young, but now. "Ancestors, in that case, shall we go? Don't be impatient. Now there are many people outside, and many things are not the time. What's more, it's urgent to find geocentric body milk first. Let's put other things later." Xiao Yang was about to say something when he was stopped by Xiao Xian. As time goes by, people will always change. Xiao Xian's caution at this time is also a kind of protection for Xiao Yang. Luo Jin on one side stared at the old man in the sky with a light frown. He knew the latter's identity, and the other party naturally understood him. At the beginning, Luo Jin's father came to exchange earth-scented body milk for him in person. He was also very clear about his son, the father of Burning the Sky. "Little guy, I haven't seen you for many years. I've grown up. My cultivation is not inferior. At this time, the body shape of the burning father slowly appeared in front of Luo Jin and Xiao Yang. As soon as he appeared, he looked at Luo Jin with a smile full of admiration. There are not many people on the mainland who know about the cloud-hidden pavilion, but he is one of them. I haven't seen you for many years, but my bones are much stronger than before. Luo Jin smiled at the speech, and his words were full of compliments. Hey, little guy can flatter. When I first met you, you were only a few years old. Can you still remember what I looked like? Burning the sky didn't give face at all. As soon as he said this, Xiao Yang laughed, and quickly bowed to the old man in front of him. Younger Xiao Yang, I've seen the elder. Well, I heard about you, but I'm afraid I can't take out what you want. Nodding, the burning father took a deep breath, and there was a little helplessness in his hoarse words. The output of geocentric body milk has decreased sharply year after year. Until this year, no one can get another drop, let alone meet Xiao Yang's needs. Even in his burning valley, no one can get another drop. As soon as he said this, Luo Jin's face suddenly changed. Together with Qin Yang who came forward, he couldn't help but pause. He already knew about Xiao Yang, but unexpectedly, after the First World War, both of them didn't achieve their goal. It's really a waste of time. However, even when the ancestor of burning the sky felt helpless and sorry for this, Xiao Yang flashed a light in his eyes and said, "Master, what is the reason?" As soon as this remark came out, the burning father was a little surprised. A pair of deep old eyes immediately fell on Xiao Yang. Luo Jin and Qin Yang on one side also had small eyes. You know? Hearing the retort of burning the sky, Xiao Yang smiled non-committally. Although I'm not sure, I can roughly guess what happened. Since the end of the battle between Xiao Yang and Qin Yang, Zhongmen Derby has come to an end. Of course, the real purpose of the major forces to come to Zhongmen Derby is not for these young people. Although the battle between Xiao Yang and Qin Yang on the field is particularly amazing, and even shocked all the Source King and strong people present, the fact is the fact. In the rest of the time, the ancestor of Burning Heaven met several strong people who wanted to join Burning Valley. After a simple business theory, he handed over all the stalls to Li Chengxiu, and he found Xiao Yang in a hurry. At the moment, the latter, at the request of the burning father, waited for him alone in the tea house. This time, Luo Jin didn't go with him again. It is said that he seemed to be invited by Shenhua. He didn't know what to do. Qin Yang became the first in the conference. Outsiders didn't know the outcome of the war with Xiao Yang, but he himself knew very well, Xiao Yang's fire lotus silk was not under his burning anger, and even had the possibility of winning in the end. But these are not the most critical. The most fatal thing is that Xiao Yang has not exerted the power of the road from beginning to end. In other words, in addition to the fire lotus, Xiao Yang still has other card. Up to now, Qin Yang doesn't even know what Xiao Yang's power of the road is. It can be imagined that once Xiao Yang exerts his power of the road, coupled with his strange fire lotus, Qin Yang thinks that he will not be his opponent if he exerts his best. At the end of the meeting, Qin Yenru, surrounded by all his disciples, returned to his residence. The elders sent the rest of the strong ones to stay. Xiao Yishen and others were arranged to wait in the hall. If Xiao Yang didn't come back later, he would be personally received by the elder Li Chengxiu. In the tea house, Xiao Yang got up to greet the burning god outside the door when he approached. When they met, they were in peace. The burning god praised Xiao Yang in his words, but both sides also knew each other's purpose. Therefore, after a few polite words, they went straight to the topic. Xiao Yang's little friend, the old man doesn't beat around with you anymore. You want to get the earth's body milk from me, which I can understand. But what matters now is that the stalactite is hard to collect the lotion again. According to what you said before, this phenomenon should be another change of the earth's body milk. They sat opposite each other in front of the tea table. At this time, the burning ancestor was locking his eyes on Xiao Yang in front of him, waiting for his answer. Elder, have you ever heard that the earth's heart and milk pulp? Smelling the speech, Xiao Yang pursed a smile and said the guess in his heart. However, after listening to this, a suspicious color appeared on the old face of the burning father. He seemed to have never heard of the name. Even if he searched in his memory, it was still difficult to find a trace. After a long time, the old man in front of him shook his head with a deep frown, and looked helplessly at Xiao Yang in front of him. What is this? I've never heard of it. This is not entirely to blame the ancestor of Fen Yang, but because the number of times that the milk pulp of the Earth's core appeared on the mainland was so few that it was not recorded in most ancient books. Even Xiao Yang was only quietly seen when reading ancient books, and even the records in ancient books were very limited at that time. As far as I know, if geocentric body milk has some special conditions, it may get a qualitative change, or sublimation. Geocentric milk marrow is a more precious treasure of heaven and earth formed after years of brewing of geocentric body milk and under special conditions. Compared with geocentric body milk, geocentric milk marrow not only has the same effect, but also contains extremely huge heaven and earth energy. It is the treasure of cultivators, or even a kind of spiritual stone that can be swallowed, and its effectiveness is better than that of high-level spirit stone. As Xiao Yang knows, there are no more than 3 times in mainland China, and each time, it will cause a huge sensation in mainland China. After learning about the effectiveness of geocentric milk pulp, countless strong people flock to it. Countless strong people are crazy about it. At the beginning, countless strong people died for this geocentric milk pulp. Even the strong at the level of Yuan Huang are not a few. It can be seen how precious the milk pulp of the Earth's heart is. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, he couldn't help but show a shock on the face of the burning god in front of him. His heart was more curious and enthusiastic about the so-called geocentric milk pulp. If, as Xiao Yang said, the change of geocentric body milk is due to the formation of geocentric milk pulp, once the burning valley obtains these geocentric milk pulp, the strength of their whole sect, isn't it a new step? But, sir, these are just guesses in my heart, so if there is any problem. Haha, I'm cautious. Don't worry. If it isn't, I won't blame you. It's just that I didn't have a chance to burn Yengu. But now, I'd better go to the field first. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, the burning father immediately laughed. Naturally, he could hear the meaning of Xiao Yang's words. If he got into trouble because of his own speculation, Xiao Yang was not willing to do this. Seeing the promise made by the ancestor of burning heaven, Xiao Yang smiled. Immediately, under the leadership of the former, he went somewhere on the back hillside of Burning Valley. When they got to the back of the mountain, Xiao Yang saw that behind the mountain was a bottomless cliff. All the vitality disappeared here. From the hillside of the mountain, it turned into red rock again. The strange rocks on the mountain wall were jagged, but it was difficult to have a foothold. The distant sky was filled with thick fog, which made people unable to see what was behind, but I just feel that even the fog in front of me is extremely hot. No wonder no one has invaded from behind the mountain of Burning Valley. When the 2 men stepped on the void and came to a place on the mountain wall, the body of the burning father stopped slowly. Immediately, in Xiao Yang's suspicious eyes, he took a red stone from Naji and put it into an insignificant groove on the stone wall. Suddenly, the hard stone wall twisted in front of the 2 people until it disappeared in front of them. A hole appeared out of thin air. In this cave, it is the location of the stalactite, the milk pulp of the Earth's heart, which is in it. Haha, the guys outside always want to go up the mountain to look for treasure, but they don't know that what the disciples in front of the mountain do is just to confuse them and search around the sect gate. The real treasure entrance is behind the mountain. Seeing the surprised look on Xiao Yang's face, the ancestor of Burning the Sky laughed and immediately stepped into it. Later, Xiao Yang quickly followed up after some praise from the bottom of his heart. It was not until they entered the cave and the opening of the outside world that they returned to the shape of a mountain wall in a burst of distortion, and there were no mistakes. This video will end here.